You know that feeling, right? You're stuck in yet another meeting that just goes nowhere. Lots of polite nods, but zero real progress. Well, in this explainer, we're going to talk about a super powerful technique that can totally fix that. So let's dive into this idea of constructive tension.
This quote right here, it gets straight to the heart of the problem. We're all conditioned to think that being agreeable is the best way to get along and build relationships. But what if all that politeness is actually what's holding you and your entire team back? This really sets the stage for a huge shift in how we think about communication.
Okay, so first, let's talk about a problem I bet a lot of us face, probably more than we'd like to admit. It's called the agreement trap. It's that instinct we have to just nod along to keep things smooth. But as we're about to see, being too nice can be a massive roadblock to any kind of real innovation.
Seriously? Does it sound familiar? You're in a meeting room. Everyone's being incredibly nice, ideas are thrown out, people are nodding, and then you walk out an hour later and realize, wait, nothing was actually decided? Not a single tough question was asked. You're in the exact same spot you were before, just an hour older. That, right there, is the agreement trap in full effect.
So how in the world do we break out of this cycle? Well, the answer lies in getting really good at using a tool called constructive tension. It's all about creating just enough respectful discomfort to push a conversation forward instead of letting it just die. So what is this really? It's absolutely crucial to get this right. This is not about being argumentative or just playing devil's advocate for fun. The goal is never to win or prove you're right. It's about working together to unlock a brand new perspective, an insight that maybe neither of you saw coming.
And what's so interesting is when you put them side by side like this, the difference is just stark. Look, polite agreement, it feels safe, right? It just validates what we already believe and keeps everything exactly as it is, the status quo. But constructive tension? When you do it the right way, it introduces a thoughtful challenge. It actually uncovers the blind spots we all have and creates real forward progress. It's the difference between standing still and actually moving ahead.
Now, I know this might sound a little complex, maybe even a bit scary, but there's a surprisingly simple framework you can use. So let's get practical and walk through the 4-step method for having these powerful conversations.
Here it is. It's a simple 4-part recipe. First, acknowledge. Then, contradict. Third, provoke. And finally, hold the silence. It's a sequence that's designed to open up a discussion respectfully, introduce a challenge with facts, and then, and this is key, give the other person the space to find the new conclusion all on their own.
All right, let's make this real. Imagine you're a sales manager and you're talking to a very senior client head. This person is incredibly proud of their low-cost strategy. They are 100% convinced it's the absolute best approach for their company. But your data, well, your data is telling a very different story. You start right here. Before you do anything else, you validate their point of view. A simple sentence like this shows you're listening, that you get it. It immediately lowers their defenses and, makes them much more open to what you're about to say next.
Now, you gently introduce a factual contradiction. But look at the language. It's not an attack. It's a simple observation based on data you have. You're not saying your strategy is wrong. You're just saying, hey, here's a fact that doesn't quite seem to fit with the story.
And this is the pivot. This is where the magic happens. You don't just give them the answer. You ask a powerful, open-ended question that guides their own thinking. You're basically inviting them to connect the dots themselves, which is always, always more powerful than you spelling it out for them.
Okay, now for the hardest part. After you ask that brilliant question, every instinct in your body is going to scream, fill the silence, explain more. Don't do it. Just be quiet. Hold that pause. That silence is where the real thinking happens. It's where the light bulb goes off. Let the silence do the heavy lifting for you.
Now, because this is such a powerful tool, we have to be really smart about how and when we use it. This is not something you pull out in every conversation. So let's go over some really important rules of engagement.
So when should you use it? Absolutely use it when your team is just stuck in a rut. Or when you keep hearing those same old objections, like, we've always done it this way. And it's perfect for situations where a leader seems so confident that they might be overlooking a huge blind spot. Those are the moments to introduce a gentle challenge. And just as important is knowing when to back off. If you haven't built up a foundation of trust yet, this will just feel like an attack. It won't work. If the other person is already upset or defensive, it's only going to make things worse. And critically, if you can't back up your point with some kind of fact or data, don't even try. You'll just lose credibility. So we've gone through the what, the why, and the how. Now it's time to actually turn all this theory into practice. I want to leave you with a super simple very first challenge.
That's it. Just do it once. The very next time you're in an important meeting and your gut reaction is to just say, "Yep, I agree," I want you to pause for a second and instead try to form one thoughtful, challenging question based on what we've talked about today. Just see what happens.
Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Real progress, those big innovations, the major breakthroughs, they're often hiding right there in plain sight. And sometimes all it takes is the courage to move past just being polite and to ask that one question that unlocks everything. So what critical insight is waiting for you to discover?